Hi there folks, Joel Self, Outdoor Instructor here. Welcome to my storeroom. We've come in here to do a bit of a Q&A today, and this particular Q&A is about my personal climbing. There were a couple of requests for me to make a video about it, and plenty of questions sent in, so here it is. Let's get straight into it, shall we? So, question one is from Charlotte Payne, who has asked, where's my favourite place to go climbing and why? For me, it's an easy no-brainer. It's Snowdonia. It's a beautiful place to climb. No matter where you go, you're almost guaranteed amazing views. And there's so many different rock types as well. So all the climbs feel really different, and you've got everything from bouldering and sport and trad through to some big mountainous stuff too. You've got sea cliffs. There's just a bit of everything, and it's just an amazing place to go and climb. And the people there as well, brilliant folk to go and climb with. So Snowdonia definitely gets my vote, 100%. Sarah McGrath has asked an interesting question. Said, which is your favourite trad route? Now, I would like to say it was really hard for me to decide, and the thing is it wasn't. I immediately thought of Groove Direct on Tryfan, and I'm not 100% sure why, because I've done lots of really cool routes, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh, maybe this one, maybe that one, but I keep coming back to Groove Direct. And it's not particularly hard, it's just nice, pleasant climbing with a good view. And if you go out on a sunny day with a mate, it's just a nice route to go and bimble up. And it's also a pretty good introduction for those looking to do some of their first bigger routes as well. So yeah, I like Groove Direct on Tryfan, really. Freya Kemp has asked, for question 3, have you ever genuinely got scared on a climb? Yes, quite a lot of times, and it's not very enjoyable. It can be as simple as being indoors and you're slapping for a hold. You so want to get the route, and as you get it, you just let out this almighty power scream because you're so frightened that you're not going to stick that hold, and you've just got to sum up every little bit of strength you have to hold it. And that can be a really scary moment. It can also be really scary, when you go out on a big mountainous route and you get a bit lost. I went out on Horned Crag route back in 2018 with a friend of mine called David, and we keep meaning to go back and redo the route, and we haven't since, but we had a big day out. We got super lost, ended up on some seriously hard climbing compared to the grade of the route, and we did it in many more pitches than it's meant to be done because of how off route we got. So that was really scary and really intimidating. I fell off. I've fallen off a fair few climbs in my time, but I have particularly recently, last year, I fell off a route called Glacial Point, which is E45C, and I said falling, or shouted falling to my bee there, and then my brain caught up with the fact that I'd said falling, and that I was actually going to fall off now, and that was a long way to go, and I hadn't got any gear yet. I'd placed one micro nut, sort of 2 foot, well, it probably wasn't 2 foot, we're talking about 2 meters off the ground, just to sort of protect the very initial moves, and I was now way above that, and I fell sort of 30 foot tumbling down this slabbed route, landed on my back on the ledge, and then continued to roll off the ledge and down a further little rock step. That was really scary. Right from the second I said falling, it got really intense really fast, and yeah, hurt quite a lot as well. So getting scared on climbs is healthy and also absolutely normal. So I think everyone gets scared. If they tell you they're not scared ever, then they're lying to you, or they climb way too easy and they should be pushing themselves more. I think if you're not scared, you're not doing it right. That's my ethos anyway. Charlotte Payne has asked an interesting question. A few other people asked this as well, but Charlotte was the first to get in there and ask. If you could climb anywhere in the world, where would you go? I would go, partly because I just want to go there anyway, and partly because they've got some amazing mountains that I want to go up, but I'd go to Pakistan. My mum grew up there with my aunt, and my grandparents were working there for a while. That's why they were all there. And it's just an amazing country as far as the mountains they've got. It looks like it'd be an insane place to go and climb. I'd be really, really keen to go and have some big adventures there. That would be really cool. One of my junior climbers, Ellie Evans, has asked, if climbing wasn't in my life, what would I do? I do a lot of other outdoor activities, so in all honesty, I'd probably just do a lot of caving or a lot of shooting or a lot of archery or something. But I kind of got into most of those other activities through my initial experience of climbing. So climbing was one of the first outdoor activities I really got involved with, and then that sort of snowballed into doing all the other things. So I'm quite privileged as well that it's part of my job to do climbing, because it means I can go climbing and I can do those other activities because of the work I do. So if you take climbing totally out of the equation and imagine I'd never done it, ooh, that's a difficult one. I guess I would probably have ended up working on a farm or as a tree surgeon. And in terms of like leisure activities, I probably, don't really know what I would be doing. I guess I'd still be out and enjoying the outdoors, maybe doing some walking, maybe some archery and some shooting and stuff, but not in the same way that I get to do it as things are because of my climbing. So David Webb has asked, what techniques do I use when I get scared on a rock face to keep myself calm? Crying's always a good bet, but it can make the rock a little bit wet and then you might slip off, so I don't know, maybe avoid the crying. But you can always do stuff like getting comfortable at the grade. So if you're going to go climb the highest VS route you've ever done, so you're going to go from doing single pitch VS to doing a 2 or 3 pitch VS, or you're going really hard and you're going, big long mountainous route. Just get really comfortable at the grade. Do loads and loads and loads of single pitch at that grade. Do some harder climbs if you're able to, if it's within the scope of your ability to go and climb some HVSs and some E1s before you get on this big long multi-pitch VS, then go do that. That'd be a brilliant way of training and conditioning your brain to deal with the stress and the emotion and the fear that goes along with that sort of difficulty of climb. If you're not able to do that, then I guess climb as close as you can to the grade before going and doing the route that you think is going to scare you. But if it's all gone wrong, you're on a climb, even if it's an easy climb, you've maybe got lost, or something has not gone the way you planned, and now you're starting to get in a bit of a state, you're getting a bit scared, just take a moment to stop where you are if possible. And the way that I do it, and I don't know if this is a great way of advising other people to do it, but I very much go into some sort of tunnel vision where it's all about the next hold and the next move. So I'm no longer worried about how high I've got to get overall. I'm just thinking, I've got this crimp, I'm going to put my foot there and go right hand up. And it's just those micro movements and micro adjustments, and if you focus on those, the bigger picture sort of falls away. You don't have to think so much about all the rest of it. You can just plod through those moves really in a very concentrated fashion, and that just calms me right down. And you start thinking about the sort of the mechanical side of how your body's working. Like, I'm going to go left hand up, which means my right foot is going to flag. I'm going at that angle, so I'm going to put my foot at that angle. And if you start thinking about that, there's so much to think about and concentrate on that there isn't room in your head to be scared anymore. You're just so focused on those moves. So I guess that's how I deal with it, but whether that's a great way for everyone else to deal with it, I don't know. Louise Heath has asked what my favourite and least favourite climbing films are. Favourite, Dawn Wall. Close second is going to be Free Solo. But my least favourite is almost certainly Vertical Limit. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but if you haven't, don't go and watch it. It's a terrible film. Frankie Pierce has asked, while in isolation, how are you training? So, as we all know, with COVID-19 going on at the minute, no one is out climbing, and if you are, you shouldn't be. Stay home, stay safe, all that business. But in terms of my own training for climbing, I'm not doing anything, really. I'm going and doing a little bit of walking, I'm doing a little bit of cycling on other days, and a little bit of running on other days. So I'm not doing a huge amount to keep myself climbing fit. I'm just doing a little bit to keep myself active and stop me from going mad in the house all day. But yeah, I don't have a hangboard, I don't do any sort of press-up, push-up regime or anything. I'm just doing me and doing a little bit of walking and running and cycling as I feel I want to. But no major climbing regime, I'm afraid. Sorry, can't help on that front. Will Rennett asks, I want to climb my first E1. Which route would you recommend? Well, Will, I'm a bit stumped because I don't know where you are geographically, which is fairly important unless you're willing to travel across the country to do your first E1. You're not exactly spoilt for choice. There are many, many routes you could pick from. I think the main thing is that you pick something that gets you excited to climb it. Don't just climb an E1 because you want to do an E1. Go and find an E1 that when you look at it, it gets you really, really excited to do that move. And then, oh, it's got that interesting bit there. Oh, and then it's got that nice looking section. And the view's going to be amazing. And when I get to the top, I'm going to have such a brilliant belay stance to sit at and, bring my second up on. Do something like that because you will enjoy it so much more than just doing an E1 because it's got that number attached to it. Make sure you're well prepared. Make sure you pick the right kind of gear. And you do everything that you possibly can to make it an enjoyable experience, and then you will get it. If you just rock up and sort of attack any E1 that you find, you're likely to get yourself in a bit of a state. And even if you achieve the route and manage to get to the top without any major dramas, you probably aren't going to have enjoyed it as much as taking the time, looking around at different crags and finding that route that really inspires you to get on it and climb. So I'm afraid I can't help hugely, but that would be my way of approaching that idea. And Becca Moore has asked for question 10, what is the hardest grade you've ever led? On sport, I've led 7B, and in terms of trad leads, I'm looking to do an E5 this year, but I've not yet done an E5. So, where are we? I've done E4, 5C, E3, 6A, so depending on whether you mean highest grade or hardest in terms of the technicality of the moves, be one of those two. Yeah, brilliant climbs, both of them, and yeah, hard, really, really quite hard, big effort to do them, but super psyched to have climbed at that grade, and this year really keen to get on an E5. I've got a few in mind, but I'm just still sort of making my mind up on what's going to be achievable for me, and certainly with all the circumstances at the minute with being isolated and all, you can't really do much training, can't really get out on the rock and get comfortable and get conditioned for those hard leads. So we'll have to see if that all goes ahead in the end, but at the moment E5 is the goal next, but I've climbed E4, 5C and E3, 6A and 7B on sports. So there you have it. 10 questions about my personal climbing. Hopefully the answers were interesting to you. If you've got any questions or ideas of other videos you'd like to see, be sure to comment or drop me a message and I'd love to hear from you. But thanks for watching this one. I've been Joel, Self Outdoor Instructor. See you. Bye bye.